Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome back to the BulbaSquad. So, today we're going to be having a different kind of talk. This is really just going to be a few changes that may be happening to the channel. I'm not quite so sure, but so I'm going to explain the two reasons that these changes are occurring. It's not going to be so much that I'm going to suddenly shift away from modern or anything. It's going to be that maybe the way I talk about some items, some markets are going to be slightly different. I'm going to be looking more heavily into optimizing, and the first reason is going to clear it up immediately. First and foremost, we are getting a increase to the capital gains tax. Quick explanation as to what it is. Once you have held an item for more than a year that is an unregistered asset or an alternative asset, it now becomes an item that will get the capital gains tax if you exceed a certain amount of money. It used to be $20,000 and 200 sales, so no one cared because realistically, we're poor. We're not going to break that. But they passed a law secretly with the last stimulus. They lowered that bar to $600 and one sale. So that sucks. A lot of items you see in the background will break that immediately. And that is my main reason for what I'm about to start doing. I am going to start selling some things that I've had very high percentage margin gains on that will immediately break that $600 threshold. Reason for it, I have an item in my possession that I've had purchased at $200. It is $800 right now. My net profit after taxes, eBay shipping and fees, it's going to be roughly $440. And if I do not sell it before the new capital gains tax comes into play, I am going to unfortunately drop down to $320, and in order to reach the same amount of money I would have made before, it has to appreciate to roughly $1,000. I believe we are heading into the trough of the Pokemon business cycle, as I dubbed it, and if that's the case, this could be dead money for 2, 3, or more years before I reach those gains. That is very unfortunate. I do not want to sit through that. Even though I do have some attachment to it, I have to be willing to let go. So the way this is fundamentally changing my view, I am going to be looking into more short-term, like 1 year or less holds. It could be in any section of the market, just places I think there is opportunity in the short term for, that I'm going to be willing to sell off. It may not be the biggest gains, but I'm willing to sell it off. Because I'm now looking at making money in these smaller modern items, maybe even WotC, depending on if I see the opportunity. Remember the fossil box? And if that's the case, I am then going to take that money and I'm going to move it elsewhere. Some of you guys may already do this. Some of you may choose to do this. You guys can put into whatever you want. I am thinking either higher end Pokemon items that have historically had very little retracement or very steady growth. I prefer steadiness over high volatility, high yield. I personally am boring like that. And that is going to be my plan. Now, I've given you guys that important information. This is going to be a little more boring. Those of you who just came here for the very important information, that was it. The rest of this is going to be kind of boring. So, the second reason I am changing fundamentally is because of a channel called Reserved Investments. Some of you may not have heard of him. Some of you have. I would recommend you go check him out. Keep an open mind. Trust me, this is not going to be something easy to hear. Reserved Investments has been in the collectible world for a very long time. Last I checked, I believe he's 44, maybe 45 now. Dude looks young. And he has been working not only in collectibles, but antiques. He has worked in a lot of alternative asset markets. And he has seen the rise and fall of not only markets within his lifetime, he has seen the rise and fall of markets from other people's lifetimes because he has seniors of his own. He knows collectors that are in their 90s. Can you believe that? Like, these people were around during the 30s and 40s. They're old. They've seen some shit. And he categorizes collectibles in a way that they have a lifespan. They will live so long as the generations that have attachment to those collectibles are around. So that means collectibles like, let's see, Dragon Ball's one of them. I guess Sonic, Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, there's a bunch of collectibles that have just kind of died. Legend of Zelda, the card game, is another one of them. that is the perfect example of how they just kind of die off, and even as time goes on, even if their prices rise, they have a finite lifespan. Before you start getting all, oh no, the world's going to end, or panicking, or you really hate what I'm saying, just hear me out. Pokemon is a unique case, in my opinion. Pokemon, with each generation they create, is to cater to the next generation of Pokemon enthusiasts or collectors or whatever. He says, Reserved Investment says, collectors are not created, they are born. To an extent, I disagree. I believe that a collector can, whenever these people are introduced into the hobby through their TV, eventually, it's pretty much a guarantee. Some small percentage, whether it be a fraction of a percent or like 5 or 10%, are going to then eventually transfer to wanting to collect some Pokemon. However, here's the big thing. If the Pokemon cartoon, the business as a whole, like the franchise, begins to decline, they fail to connect with new generations, they fail to continue growing, the hobby will suddenly have a finite lifespan. Every time they successfully connect to a new audience, they extend their lifespan. And so far, I think they're doing well. Yeah, they've had some weaker times, but think about it. The #1 most popular Pokemon in the hobby right now, according to the poll, was Greninja, a Gen 5 Pokemon. Think about that. With that, knowing that, having that in mind, they could potentially have Gen 9 and some like beloved Pokemon come out of it. Gen 8, Gen 11, we don't know how far Pokemon's gonna go. But I think it is far enough that it is reasonable to stay here and keep moving in it. But keeping in mind, this is not something you could potentially hold for 40 years. It's not something you could potentially give to your grandkids, because it's potentially gonna die before then. It's a hard truth it's a bitter pill to swallow. It's a hard truth to really accept, but that is the truth of the matter. We don't know. Very rarely does any form of collectible manage to make it so far as to become an antiquity. I don't even know if one has. And so I've decided that because knowing that, I want to approach it slightly differently. I want to be a little more financially orientated, pull emotions a little further out of it. The items I personally collect, I'm still going to collect. I don't care. I love them. But I am no longer going to allow my emotional attachments to prevent me from selling an item that I am not really invested in, that I did not purchase with the sole intention of holding. So, for example, my Shiny Magikarp, Shining Gyarados, any of my Magikarp cards or Gyarados cards, those were personally for me. I have no intention of selling them. But random cards I have, like the Generations ETB up there, I had the intention of selling it. If I hit a certain margin, I'm going to sell it. And I'm not going to allow my emotions to get in the way of it. Because as he phrased it best, the winners within any collectible are the middlemen in between on the way to the highest price. Think about that. The person who just holds it forever, just holds on to it, and never successfully sells it beyond their cost basis is the loser. Unless, of course, if they're collecting. If you're personally collecting, doesn't matter. Throw all this out the window. Doesn't matter. Have fun. Live your life. Just enjoy it. And yeah, that really about sums it up. The dude made a massive impact on me. I did not expect it. And quite frankly, I hope you guys are willing to listen to things like that. I try to make this channel as open as possible. I try to be as accepting as possible of everyone. That's why even scalpers felt welcomed on the channel, because I said, you gotta respect the hustle. That's how I want everyone to feel. I want you guys to hear this and not have a knee-jerk reaction, panicking that I'm suddenly going to be saying Pokemon's a horrible investment or anything like that. Just know I'm going to become more optimized. I'm going to become... Essentially, think of the spider system, how I was already optimizing Modern. I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to go as hard as I can and really figuring out what's going to be best. And I'm going to be even more, what would I say, bearish? Yeah, bearish. Bearish on what I believe will be a good long term, which Pokemon, in my opinion, reserved investment sees long term as like 20, 30 years. I'm saying 5 to 10. 5 to 10, I believe Pokemon could survive that long. I'm going to be more conservative on what I declare a good hold in my eyes, because you now need a strong enough game that not only can compete with the S&P, which is extremely difficult to do, but is going to have to fight after it got handicapped with that 28% growth or 28% tax on the profit. That is why I'm going to be shifting a bit. But overall, I don't think I'm going to be changing that much. And I'll tell you why, for those of you who are worried or think I may be lying. It's because no one does this. Z&G is focused on WotC. Pokenomics is focused on trophy cards. SM Pratt is focused on basically most of the market, but he just kind of dabbles in modern. He dabbles in modern because he likes it and collects it. He doesn't really invest in it. And places like what's it called? Twice Baked Jake don't go in depth enough. It may sound pretentious to me. I'm the only one I know out there who's going to these lengths to try and understand modern, who is willing to create entire systems, look like an idiot doing it, and really dig deep into the dirt to try and find any nuggets of gold within it. And I know that's what you guys want. That's where the majority of people are. That's where the inexperienced, the Timmies, people who genuinely need assistance are. For people who need to learn from others who've already been here. And for that reason, I will not be stopping. That is why I shifted my channel more towards talking about modern. That's why I talked about Eevee Heroes, even though personally I'm not that interested in it right now, and I don't think it's a good time to buy it. But people needed to talk about that. They needed someone to talk about it in a very reasonable manner. People needed someone to talk about Chilling Reign, so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep talking about everything. And of course, I'm still going to be revisiting older items, because that's where opportunity is also going to be. Like I said, remember the fossil box? So, that is it, okay? I'm done rambling. I keep doing it. I'm sorry, but it's just an important topic. So, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.